Hello, my beautiful creatives, and welcome back to my art channel. My name is Chrissie B, and I'm a creativity coach hoping to inspire you to live a more creative life every day. Now, I have a little bit of a show and tell to do today, and that is my Soul Sister cards. Now, I have shown you these in the past, not really giving you any explanation of what they actually are, but I thought I would go ahead and do that today. Now, before I get too far ahead of myself, these were created using my 8-layer journaling process, which I will link in the video somewhere around here. So that's what one of the cards looked like before I actually put an image on them. But each card holds an image of someone that I admire or respect, or there's something about the person that I would love to emulate, or they just have a style or a voice that I sometimes want to tap into to like have questions answered. The way that these came about was I was in a time in my life where I had friends, but I didn't have any creative friends, and not a lot of people who I knew at that point understood, you know, my weirdness for creativity, because that's what it was kind of perceived at, was being weird. So I needed to sometimes have a sounding board for myself to answer questions from a perspective of someone who's creative, someone who's entrepreneurial, someone who thinks outside the box, and someone who may not want to be normal per se, because normal is boring and I don't want to be normal and whatever. I didn't really have a group of people like that I could bounce questions off of and use as kind of a sounding board. So what I did was I created my own group of people through my Soulbook cards. Now, I chose a bunch of women that were inspiring to me, or are inspiring to me, who do something in the world that make me happy, that makes me want to emulate that somehow, and either what they do in the world, or their personality, or the way that they present themselves, or just generally something about them I absolutely adore. And what I do is I use these Soul Sister cards as a way to tap into what I already know in myself, but sometimes when life gets busy or things get hectic or crazy, you can't always hear your own voice. You can't always hear your own truths. So what I do is, if I come up with a question, if I have some kind of a question, I try to pull 2 or 3 cards at random. I generally pull from the back. So I'd pull 1, 2, 3, and I'd put all the rest aside. Okay, and then I have chosen Kelly Ray Roberts, Christy Tomlinson, and Marie Forleo. Okay, so I don't know if you know who these people are, but these people are entrepreneurial women. They are strong women. They are artists or creatives, or people who work with creatives. I just really enjoy these women. So what I then do is I then say to my little circle of women that are sitting in front of me, and I say, hey, I have this issue, can you tell me what to do? And I answer the question as if I were Kelly Ray. So I'd imagine, what would Kelly Ray say? I imagine that she has a sweet, bubbly, friendly personality, but she also keeps very good boundaries for herself. So that's how she would come up with an answer in her voice, or how I'd come up with an answer in her voice. Then I would go to Christy and say, okay, Christy, here's the same question, and I would answer the question as if Christy were talking to me. She is different than the other two, so I'd get a different response, or maybe a different style, or maybe I'd get some other kind of advice. Then I would go to Miss Marie, and I would give her the same question and say, here's my question, what would you tell me to do? And she's kind of got a little bit of a New Yorker sass. She's a little bit more city, a little bit more, I don't know. I think she'd still give me an awesome answer too, but I'd have 3 different perspectives. Now, what I think these cards do for me is they basically mirror what is already inside of me. I just need to be able to see myself from different perspectives. And using these cards give me the ability to mirror myself, to mirror the Kelly Ray Roberts that I have living inside, or to mirror the Christy Tomlinson that I have living inside of myself, or to mirror the Marie Forleo that lives inside of me. Now, not that I have multiple personalities, but do you understand what I'm saying? I hope I'm explaining this right. I don't want this to sound all like mystic and woo-woo, but sometimes I need to have different perspectives to questions that I myself have been mulling over, and for whatever reason I've been stuck on. So that's what I use these cards for. They're super helpful. I find that they're really, really, really beneficial. One of the big things I'd like to do, however, is I don't really have any pictures of my family in here. And I have a lot of strong, amazing women that I would love to be able to tap into and ask questions to. That is why this card is blank, because that card is for my mama. I just got pictures of her. I didn't really have pictures of my mom, except my mom died of cancer. So I had pictures of her from when she was having cancer, and she didn't really look like herself. So my aunt had just gifted me some photographs of her, so I'm going to choose one of those and put those in here. I do have one picture of myself, because sometimes I need to get out of my own head and look at Chrissie and say, how would you answer this question? But I also want to have a young Chrissie. I'd like to take one of my pictures from when I was a child, because I wasn't tainted yet. I wasn't, that sounded so terrible. I wasn't, I didn't have all of my illusions and self-made beliefs knocked out of me yet. So I think it'd be kind of cool to be able to look at like a younger picture of myself and say, hey, Chrissie, what do you think? You know, and get her perspective, because I think she'd have a little bit different perspective than, you know, the Chrissie of today would. So anyways, this is just a really good tool for like getting out of your own way, for answering questions. I use it as a way to just discover truths in myself, to find bravery when I don't have bravery. Sometimes I'll borrow some of these women's bravery, even though they don't know it. It's basically just another way to share energy with all of these other women and use that energy to create a better life for myself. This is just another tool that I have created for myself to live a creative life every single day, even if that means I still have to live creatively while doing the very non-creative things like paying bills and cleaning the house and, you know, taking care of medical appointments and all that kind of stuff. This is just a way for me to expand my group of people that I really have access to be able to ask questions to. Like, it would be so awesome if one day, maybe, now I can't have all these women in the same room with me at any given time, because there are a few people on here who've passed away, unfortunately. So I still like to tap into the cards to kind of hang out with, you know, their wisdom. But it would be so cool if I could meet some of my peeps. I have met a few of them, and that's really awesome. But yeah, that's what these cards are about. I hope these are really cool to you. I find them super invaluable. I've had these for so long, and I know it doesn't really look like it because they're not terribly banged up, but I really baby these things because I love them so much. So I just keep them together with a binder clip, just like that, nothing fancy. If I'm traveling with them, I'll usually put them in an envelope with the binder clip so I don't damage the corners. I try to keep them looking as nice as possible. I treat these cards very reverently, and I try to treat them with a lot of respect. My Soul Sister cards are very, very important to me because I feel like they're such a great tool of, like I've already said, you know, tapping into yourself and mirroring what's already going on inside of you. So there is this quote that I absolutely adore that is from The Wizard of Oz, Glinda the Good Witch. She says, "You've always had the power, my dear. You just had to learn it for yourself." For me, this is one of the tools that I use to tap into that power that I always have had inside of me. I just needed a mechanism for getting it out so I can actually see it and hear it, listen to it. So that's what these do for me. It's basically my way to tap into that. Some questions that I might ask to myself are things like, what should my next step be? Or, I have this problem, how can I deal with it? Or, you know, I'd like to put on this soiree, how would I get the word out? Or just all sorts of different things that, you know, maybe I'm a little bit stuck on. So the question could really be anything. It doesn't really matter. It's not really like a magic 8-ball where they're going to literally tell you the answers, but it's you doing the work of putting yourself in their shoes and saying, hey, like, you love, like, who's my next card? They're always mixed up, but I always try to put myself on the top. So here's Melody Ross from Brave Girls Club, and I always envision that she is an introvert like me and an empath like me, but she is braver than I am, or she is willing to do scary things, which, again, to me is a brave person. So sometimes I'll need to borrow some of Melody's braveness and say, hey, Melody, what should I do about this issue going on in my life? And she, through her words, or me through my words for her, will tell me an answer that's totally different than an answer I would come up with myself. Because even though we're both introverts and we're both empaths, I don't consider myself to be very brave. I consider myself to be quite a scaredy cat person. And I envision that she's super brave and she's willing to do hard stuff and put herself out there. So even though Chrissie is maybe not that way, she can borrow some of Melody's energy and get advice for things going on in my life. I'm talking about myself like I'm in the third person, and I realize I'm not. I really am not crazy, or maybe I am, but who knows? Don't tell me. I don't want to know. But it's just a way to like give me a different perspective on anything going on in my life. It just gives me a way to answer differently. But that's what these are, and I thought it would be a fun thing to show you those cards. I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope that was helpful. Maybe something that you could create with your own 8-layer journal cards. If you have any questions, let me know. And thanks so much for watching. Until next time, bye for now.